When a YouTube prank killed Kim Jong Un's brother, the target, a bald, fat, 45-year-old Korean man, was making his way through an international airport on his way home to the Chinese territory of Macau. As he threaded his way through the crowds in broad daylight, he was approached from behind by a prankster called Đoàn, who grabbed him and smeared an oil over his eyes, and a second prankster called Siti, who approached from the front and did the same. Neither woman had any idea that this old Korean man was the half-brother of the current dictator of North Korea. The prankster, Siti Aisyah, was born in poverty in Indonesia, her parents not even able to afford her high school. She instead sought employment in the city, then overseas at Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Likewise, Vietnamese national Đoàn was a waitress who tried her hand at modeling and had been appearing on online prank channels for a year with limited success. Both women would be approached by a man claiming to be the producer of a Japanese show and was willing to pay the women the equivalent of $100 for each prank they participated in. Eager to make such a large amount of money, they agreed. They engaged in numerous pranks in public spaces, such as grabbing a stranger's hand and seeing how they reacted, telling men to close their eyes and spraying them with water, or sneaking up behind a victim and smearing baby oil on their face before running off. In February 2017, the women were in Kuala Lumpur Airport in Malaysia, where a producer of the channel pointed out the victim of the next prank. After the attack, the Korean man approached airport security and told them what had happened and that he was feeling dizzy. He was brought to the airport medical facility, where his condition rapidly worsened as he started to have a seizure. He would be rushed to the hospital but would die before the ambulance would arrive. The man was Kim Jong Nam, the half-brother of the North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. Nam was born in 1971. The eldest son and heir apparent of Kim Jong Il. He would have a falling out with his father and would live in exile from North Korea, taking up residence in the Chinese enclave of Macau, where he was known to have lived a playboy lifestyle, enjoying the luxuries of life, including a fondness for expensive watches, wine, and gambling in what he dubbed as the Las Vegas of Asia. The reason for the falling out with his father remains unclear. One potential reason occurred in 2001, when Nam, accompanied by 2 women and his 4-year-old son, snuck into Japan in order to visit Tokyo Disneyland. He was using a forged passport from the Dominican Republic, which claimed he was a Chinese national. After being detained at the Narita International Airport, he was deported to Beijing, without actually setting foot in the happiest place on earth. This event was a great embarrassment for Kim Jong-il, who canceled his state visit to China over the incident. North Korea's state media is riddled with propaganda to distort the truth and manipulate the world's perception of what truly goes on in that country. But propaganda can be found everywhere, so cross-checking the information you come across is vital, which is why we're partnering with Ground News again on this video. They're an app and a website that gathers related news articles from around the world to create story overviews like this one, covering Kim Nam's recent death. He was North Korea's official propagandist who served under all 3 leaders. I can read a summary of his death and experience as the Kim dynasty's right-hand man, based on nearly 100 articles Ground News found reporting on it, or scroll down to read the reports myself. As you can see, many articles coming from all over refer to Kim Nam as North Korea's Joseph Goebbels, also known as Nazi Germany's propaganda minister, who coined the mantra "a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes a truth," while this article, coming from state-run media out of North Korea, paints Kim Nam in a much better light by calling him devoted with a sincere attitude. Being able to easily compare the coverage of any story with context like a source's political lean credibility. And who owns them means you can spend less time trying to navigate the murky waters of news reporting. Well, of course, not my reporting anyway. And to top it all off, Ground News is independent, nonpartisan, and doesn't use any ads on their platform. So they stay as objective as possible. So if you'd like to join a platform working to make the media landscape more transparent, then head over to ground.use.com to subscribe with a 40% discount on their Vantage plan. Stay informed, stay critical, and stay grounded. Thanks, Ground News. Another reason for his loss of favor with the North Korean dictator was his more liberal approach to governance. According to Nam, after his education in Switzerland, he came to realize that his home nation was in desperate need of reforms, and even suggested that the authoritarian economic model be opened up to a more free market approach. His father forced him to leave the country, fearing that his son was, quote, turning into a capitalist, end quote. In his years in exile, there was also a possibility that Nam was an informant for the CIA and other foreign intelligence agencies. North Korea is one of, if not the most closed-off and secretive nations on the planet, and a wealth of information about the nation and ruling regime that Nam could provide was too tempting of an opportunity to toss up. Nam allegedly made contact with a CIA agent only days before the assassination, though for obvious reasons this is impossible to confirm with any certainty. Adding to suspicions of international spying was the presence of $120,000 in cash he had on hand at the time of his assassination. Nam also had good relations with the Chinese government and was seen as a potential replacement for his half-brother and current North Korean leader, Kim Jong Un, should that regime collapse. Regardless of the reason, he was seen as a liability by his half-brother and needed to be eliminated. After the prank, both the women went to separate restrooms to wash their hands. When they emerged, the producers of the reality show were nowhere to be seen. Over the next 2 years, both Siti, Aisyah, and Đoàn were imprisoned, put on trial for murder, to which they pleaded not guilty. They admitted to participating in the prank, but denied any knowledge that what they were doing would be fatal to Nam. An investigation was conducted to determine the exact cause of death. It was determined that each woman smeared baby oil on Nam's face, each one laced with a separate chemical. Once combined, these two substances created the potent toxin VX, a nerve agent classified by the UN as a weapon of mass destruction. It's far harder for VX to enter through the palms than the eyes, which may explain why both women survived, with only one falling temporarily ill. Incidentally, Nam must have had some clue about his potential assassination and its means, since at the time of his death, his traveling bag contained 12 doses of atropine, a drug that's used as an antidote against chemical nerve agents and insecticide poisoning, though it is unknown as to why he did not take the antidote. Further investigation revealed that 4 men, later identified as North Korean nationals, had witnessed the incident before boarding flights to leave the country. Another North Korean national, Ri Yong-kol, was arrested on suspicions of his involvement in the assassination, though he would later be released. The event was also the source of major diplomatic tensions between Malaysia and North Korea. The Malaysian government demanded that the 4 men be turned over for questioning. The Koreans refused and detained all Malaysians from leaving North Korea, essentially as hostage. An additional diplomatic hurdle was Kim Jong Nam's body, which was being held for investigation by Malaysian law enforcement. As far as North Korea was concerned, The man was Kim Chol, the fake name on Nam's passport, and as a North Korean national should be returned immediately, which Malaysian authorities refused before the true identity was discovered. Suspiciously, a week after the assassination, there was an attempted break-in of the mortuary holding Nam. The political standoff led to the severing of diplomatic ties between the two nations. This is especially ironic since the relationship between Malaysia and North Korea up to this point was strong, with Malaysia being the first nation whose citizens were able to travel to the DPI without a visa. As for the two women, they were both accused of murder and forced to stand trial, with a death penalty looming over their heads. Their lawyers asserted that they were unwitting pawns in the North Korean plot and were completely innocent of the charges leveled against them. They argued that in the hours leading up to the prank, Siti and Đoàn did not act like they were about to kill someone, nor afterwards, as they didn't try to clean their clothes, something you would do if you knowingly handled a deadly nerve agent, nor did they attempt to go into hiding. After 2 years of investigations, testimonies and examinations, in March of 2019, the prosecution dropped all charges against Siti Aisyah, though they made it clear that this was not an acquittal and that she could be recharged in the future. Though this has not happened, the decision was the result of diplomatic pressure from the Indonesian government, as well as a lack of concrete evidence against Aisyah. On April 1st, 2019, Donda Hwang was offered a plea deal in which she would plead guilty to the lesser charge of causing hurt with a dangerous weapon, which carries a penalty of up to 10 years imprisonment. She accepted the offer rather than risk the mandatory death penalty for murder. After pleading guilty to this reduced charge, she was sentenced to 3 years and 4 months in prison, though due to her good behavior and cooperation with the authorities, she was released after only a month. In the long and complex history of espionage and assassinations, the murder of Kim Jong Nam will no doubt be remembered as worthy of any spy novel, and just goes to show that even the seemingly most innocent of pranks can easily have unintended consequences.